This is the Lincoln Journal Star editorial board interview with Janet Chung, who is a candidate for state legislature in District 2. I am the editor at the Journal Star, Dave Bundy, and we're joined by editorial board member Kent Walgamot. Kent, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Kent Walgamot. I write about arts and entertainment, and I've been an editorial board member for 12 years.
I gotta let you introduce yourself better the next time. Kent, I kind of stole your thunder, with your name. And so, Janet, we are very grateful to have you here with us. And our first question for you is kind of a chance for you to introduce yourself to the editorial board and to our readers. We've probably all been following the legislature closely. It doesn't look like they're having a great time every single day. So why do you want to serve in the legislature, and what experiences and attributes do you have that would suit you to that office?
So the reason I'm running for legislature is I think we should be working together to move Nebraska forward for better job opportunities and strong public education. And I believe there should be less partisanship, and we just need to be working together. So my experiences, I worked in the private sector, working for commercial property development and telecommunications companies before I landed at Lincoln Electric System. So I worked at Lincoln Electric System in the energy services department, helping customers with residential and commercial energy efficiency. I worked on the sustainable energy program. I helped develop that. I researched it. And then I also helped with community outreach activities, doing the Earth Day activities, doing the booths at the Chamber of Commerce events when I was at Lincoln Electric System. So I'm a public power employee. I believe that public power has done a really good job of providing reliable electric service and low rates. And I've also been a community advocate. I currently serve on the Bryan Medical Center Board of Trustees. I'm a volunteer with Leadership Lincoln, and I'm a member of the League of Women Voters. So previously, I've served on the board of directors for Southeast Fire and Rescue Department. I have served on the board of Leadership Lincoln, Asian Community and Cultural Center, and American Red Cross. So I believe my experiences working with diverse groups will help me to reach across the aisle and work with everybody. So that's why I'm running.
All right, well, thank you. So the next question, there have been issues involving the State Board of Education, public health, land use, where state government and local control have kind of been at odds. If you're involved in sort of navigating that issue, do you have kind of an overriding philosophy? Or are you a local choice all the way, or how would you help resolve some of those state government versus local control issues?
So depending on you kind of put a lot of things in that question.
Yeah. Take it apart however you like.
Yeah. So some of I think what you're referring to, and maybe if my answer is not clear. So if you're asking about whether people should elect officials for the Board of Education, I believe the people should still have a vote in who is serving them on the Board of Education. And local control is good. So voters, if they have a say, if they are voting on those positions, I believe they should still continue to be able to do that.
Okay. What about the tension with public health, masks, vaccines, particularly since you would represent part of Lincoln and Lancaster County, the state certainly wasn't crazy that Lincoln and Lancaster County were able to have the mask mandate, and nobody else in the state they could avoid that elsewhere. So do you have any thoughts about that in terms of public health?
So again, with local control, as your previous question, I think that Pat Lopez and Mayor Lyrian Gaylor-Baird did a great job of working with the local medical community, with Bryan Health and with CHI Health. And I think that those decisions should still be made by medical professionals and the people who are dealing with sick people and dealing with hospitalizations. I think we should work with the experts in the fields where they're trained and they've done the research to make those decisions.
Okay, so unless the legislature does something miraculous, we're not going to have a solution to our corrections and prison problems this legislative session. So if elected, what would be your priorities in solving those kind of problems with corrections and new prison versus, all those options?
So I think we should look at the ways to obviously supporting strong public education and resources for everybody helps to reduce the prison pipeline and good jobs. So I believe in trying to reduce the number of people that and offering resources to people that have I don't know if it's alcohol or medical dependent issues which land them in the correction system. We should try to provide programs to help them with mental and behavioral issues that maybe where they end up in the correction system. We should try to reduce that, and then and look at the reducing sentences for the less serious crimes.
Okay, thank you. So next question, tax reform. Obviously there's been, tax cuts were passed. But the work on tax reform probably is not done. What are solutions that you see, or what are directions that you would be interested in going in terms of cutting taxes, reforming the way that the tax burden is distributed, and if you want to spend less and give people more money back, where would you cut?
So I think we need to look at finding other sources of revenue to fund some of the things that we need to fund. But yes, I believe that property tax relief is important, and I don't have all the answers. And I think if the answers were easy, they would have done them by now. So I will be working to research and look at what other alternatives there are for what they've proposed before, and see how we can move forward with new solutions.
That's probably a very reasonable answer. I think we've asked that question of everyone, obviously, and I don't know that anybody's said, well, if it were easy, we would have done it already. So next question is about election integrity. Do you believe efforts to investigate the 2020 election in Nebraska are warranted? And then do you support changes in our election laws or procedures? And if so, how do you make sure it doesn't get harder for people to vote?
So I believe the results for the 2020 elections are correct. We did elect Joe Biden. We did elect Jeff Fortenberry and okay, I'm drawing a blank right now on who else was elected in 2020. But the election results are true and accurate. I think that we should make voting more accessible to people, especially working families. It's hard to schedule around when you have kids' schedules and you have a job, and some people work from 9 to 5, and so when they have family, it's hard for them to get to the polls. I think that Election Commissioner Shively has done a very good job of, and his office of working on getting that option of putting drop boxes in the city libraries. I was disappointed to see, and I've heard from voters that they're disappointed that they don't have another option for taking their early vote ballots, that they have to drive across town to go to the election office instead of going to their library. But I believe that we've had safe and correct election results, and that Commissioner Shively has done a good job in Lancaster County. So I agree with the 2020 election results.
All right, well, Janet, you're answering these questions very efficiently. So the next one, I predict you'll answer efficiently because I think you already did. Should the legislature scrap nonpartisanship? And then the second half of that, if not, what would you do to restore a greater level of nonpartisanship?
I do think I've already answered that, but
yeah,
as far as scrapping nonpartisanship, so I believe that you should work across the aisle as an elected representative. I would represent everybody, not just a political party. And I have told people that for years, that that's what elected officials should be doing. So that's what I plan to do.
all right. Kent, so I have one last question, but it really has to be the last question. So Kent will ask his traditional questions now.
First one, I'm interested in your thoughts about the two big water projects that there are sort of in the pipeline now, the canal to move water from the South Platte in Colorado into western Nebraska, and the big lake up by Ashland.
So I haven't asked a lot of people about those projects. I've just seen a little bit in the newspaper about it. I haven't had time to read all of the articles, but I'm a little concerned about, because I read there might be some lawsuits involved from Colorado, and I would be concerned about spending a lot of money on projects that would maybe draw some legal attention from another state. I don't know if that's correct. I would need to research that, but I think there are a lot of other things we could be spending money on at this point, and priorities, as you've mentioned, corrections reform or support for other programs like mental health and behavioral health, I think could use some help. And the property tax relief and public education support we should be focusing on. I don't know that water recreation is something that would benefit us as much as some of the other issues that the legislature's been working on.
Okay, and the second one, as you I'm sure know, most of the real work in the legislature gets done in committee. Have you given some thoughts to committees you might want to try to get on if you're elected?
So I haven't researched all the committees, but I am, as you can tell by my comments, drawn to public education. I believe that working families and our children are really important for the future of our state. So I am leaning towards that, but I'm willing to learn and jump into whatever committee I think needs the most help. And anybody who knows me knows that I will do my research and that I will pick an area where I think that I can help and needs help. That's the reason I'm running, is if I think I can do something and help, that's what I will do. So I am leaning towards the education committee, but it could change.
All right, the last question I have for you, Janet, is it's an easy one. What did we not ask you that you wish we had?
Gosh. So I didn't mention that the reason I'm an advocate for public schools is because my parents were immigrants. We moved here, my parents met in Iowa. We moved here because my dad got a position at the University of Nebraska teaching electrical engineering. I grew up here in Lincoln. I went to Lincoln Southeast. I graduated from the University of Nebraska with a bachelor's degree in journalism. And I think that Nebraskans work together to help our neighbors, and we should be working to retain and help people here with good jobs and strong public education. And I will work to do that in the legislature. I will work to continue providing the good life for all Nebraskans.
All right, well, that sounded like an uplifting closing note for this interview. So Janet, thank you a ton for taking the time to talk with us today, and we wish you the best on May 10th.
Well, thank you for the time to interview and the opportunity. And I was actually thinking Kent was going to ask me a question about music or art.
It takes a lot of restraint on his part.
It does. I have to stay in my lane.
Yeah. But after 20, 25 of these, you're pretty good at that. So, all right. Well, thank you.
I haven't done that many.
Yeah, we have though. So,
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye,
Bye-bye.
Janet.